friends of the show. We are back with another episode of the Ferris Wheel Serious Rock Talk podcast. A big thanks for your emails, suggestions, and your support on our social media platforms. Continue to email us at seriousrocktalk@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Listen to a new show every week. Just tune in each Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. New York City time on Cap City Beats, located at www.capcitybeats.ca. Okay, buckle up for some serious rock talk. All right, welcome guys, we're back.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone today?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Felt any better, I'd be sick.
It's a beautiful sunny day, negative temperatures here, but we'll make do. So to the right of me, a gentleman that is friends with Paul Bunyan.
Stephen Wheeler.
And a man that co-wrote and sang songs with Jim Nabors.
Oh, God. Goomer Paul, bless him. That's true, Dr. Ian Clark.
Gentlemen, today is a good day. I believe, Ian, you are excited as you're taking a lead on 41 final albums.
I am. It's a red letter day for me all the way around. 41 final albums from, by the way, ultimateclassicrock.com.
Ryan Reed is the gentleman that wrote the article April 13th, 2021.
It's an interesting list, mainly because he says 41, not 40, not 60, not 30, 41. I'm just going to read a little bit of the intro, how he arrived at this. Quote, rock bands tend to peak early in their life cycles. Boy, is that true. Riding the wave of youthful inspiration. It is hard enough to keep a project going for years. It's almost impossible to make great albums up through the end. You know, that's true. Like, that's why the Beatles are freakish. In other words, not all final albums are created equal. Yeah, we'll be talking about Abbey Road and a few other things. When the Ultimate Classic Rock put this together, quote, they took an objective approach in compiling the stories behind the list. The albums are sorted chronologically rather than being ranked by quality. Keep that in mind, chronologically. And so why don't we start off here in 1968 with Buffalo Springfield. Last time around, Buffalo Springfield, and we've mentioned this in different podcasts, was an anomaly. It's just a strange band. They didn't produce much, but they are, I don't know, they have this kind of, gospel according to Buffalo Springfield. Like, they influenced a lot of other stuff that came after them. Stephen Seals was in the band, Richie Fury and Neil Young. The album was called Last Time Around, 1968, and it was just kind of cobbled together. And I think they broke up during or just after it. Here it is. Last Time Around arrived 2 months after they split. That happened to the Zombies with Odyssey and Oracle, too, and became their biggest hit. Sometimes these guys are just out of luck at some point. Anyway, that is number one on this list. Again, alphabetical or by chronology, not by quality. This next one up is it's the Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland from '68. A final album. This is the problem with Hendrix, is he had so many. Most of his albums came out after he died. Otherwise, he had no control over it. The album that came after this was called Band of Gypsies, I think 1970, with Billy Cox and Buddy Miles. Yep. And it's so, okay, technically this is his last album. This is the last studio album, 1968. And it is a great album. If you like Jimi Hendrix, it's a double album, too. It's very ambitious.
That's the one with the naked chicks, right?
Oh, yeah.
What if you don't like Jimi Hendrix?
Well, then you should don't listen to this.
Just look at the cover.
Don't listen to this podcast. What? You're in the wrong podcast. I think the Miley Cyrus podcast is next door.
Yeah. Okay, I'll step out and I'll go there.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yes, thank you. Wish me well.
So the next one I'm going to talk about is Cream, 1969, aptly named Goodbye. I've always had issues with Cream, kind of a pretentious band, but a few good hits, amazing musicianships, but I don't know, there is a pretension to them.
And it's bad for you with the cholesterol.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. It's but also calling yourself Cream.
Cream,
Shut up. But there wasn't much going on with this album. Badge was on it, a song written by I think George Harrison, and a good song. But it's not really much of an album compared to their earlier stuff, like Disraeli Gears. What next do we have?
We have actually the Beatles, and Ian and I have always agreed that this has to be their best album. And
I
it's
think
the most confusing final album because it was a back-to-back recording where they had Let It Be recorded in '69, then it was shelved, which I think was pre-planned of just in case things were not going too good. And then, Abbey Road was released before, which is actually a better album. And to me, like the song set, Come Together, Something, Oh Darling, Octopus's Garden, Here Comes the Sun. She Came In Through the Bathroom Window, Carry the Weight, Carry That Weight. Like, come on. How can you not like this album? And it was an interesting title name because they called it Abbey Road. Initially it was supposed to be called Everest because that was a pack of cigarettes that Paul McCartney was smoking. And they felt that, trying to get a picture of them going to Mount Everest, the cost, the timing, how to get everything done.
This is pre-Photoshop, by the way.
Pre-Photoshop. So they figured, let's just take a walk on Abbey Road, and there you go. So what do we have next after Abbey Road? Ian, this is your album.
Janis Joplin Pearl, the poor thing. She died August 4th, 1970, and this album came out after she died. It's produced by Paul Rothchild, who was Mr. Producer in the late 1960s in Los Angeles area. He did most of the Doors albums. And what's touching about this is that like Bobby McGee's on it, her biggest hit. She had some Mercedes-Benz, written by the poet Michael McClure, I think. And it's just sad. And she almost made the last track's called Buried Alive in the Blues. They recorded the instrumentals, but she couldn't obviously put down the vocals. And so they released it as an instrumental. And it went number one. I think Bobby McGee went number one. Chris Christopherson's song. He co-wrote it, actually. And
I think it kickstarted his career, actually.
It did. It really helped him out. And it's always, so in other words, when I see the Pearl album, it's always mixed emotions. Good album, but how much of it is touched by her untimely death? You know what I mean? It's a touching album. It's well done. Next on our list is The Doors' L.A. Woman from 1971, same year as Pearl. By the way, that's why one of the reasons Paul Rothchild didn't produce The Doors is he was in a relationship with Janis Joplin, and he just couldn't go on. That was it. He quit from The Doors. He just left and said, "You do it yourself." So they did, self-produced. L.A. Woman is known to be kind of their best or second best album. The best really is the first album. And L.A. Woman's a good bookend to their career. Stuff like, L.A. Woman, the song, is one of those great driving songs. This is the last album with Jim Morrison, not the last album of The Doors. I think they did 3 other albums after this. One, An American Prayer, is with Morrison reading poetry. They got a hold of some tapes of him. And it's actually pretty good. The other 2, Full Circle, it was One Other Voices. You could probably do without. There was a hit off one of them called Mosquito, but that's about it. So, L.A.
You forgot An American Prayer in '78.
Yeah, I know. I mentioned that.
You did. Sorry.
That's okay. That's the one with the poetry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I, so I regard L.A. Woman as their last album.
Which I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. What do we have up next?
CCR's Mardi Gras.
Oh, God.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
That Tuesday, Mardi Gras.
Oh, incredible.
So
It's just so fluent.
Charles Aznavour.
Really, I got.
So this is 72's probably one of the worst albums that came out that year. The band's completely in disarray at this point. Tom Fogerty's gone, and let's face it, CCR was his band. He was basically the driving force. Most of the songs were written by Stu Cook, the bassist, and Doug Clifford, the drummer. And basically they were crucified by every critic who basically say that there are 6 albums of CCR, not 7, because Mardi Gras is not a CCR album.
What's been known as often been called the worst album by a great band. like it's the worst stuff by a great band.
Man,
It's just great.
and it's not only bad musically, it's bad visually. It doesn't even have a nice cover.
I can't even remember that. Yeah, I mean, but how would you like that? This guy, John Fogerty's taking you from zero to hero. And you think, you know what? Let's change this. I'm going to write these songs. No, why don't you just stick with the formula that made you multimillionaires and popular? And no, we're going to write them. Talk about kiboshing a good thing. And so that's what they did. Next on our list is The Velvet Underground with Squeeze from 1973. I know this album. It's not really that good. There were no original members on it. There was from 1968 a fellow named Sterling. No, it wasn't Sterling Morrison. Who was the guy? Doug Yule joined in '68. He was on this album, but Lou Reed and all these guys, John Kell, all these guys were gone by that time. Well, of interest, the drummer, he's a great drummer, Ian Pace from Deep Purple, did the drummer. How's that for trivia?
Next on the list is Lynyrd Skynyrd's Street Survivors, released in '77. How ironic is that? 3 days prior to that tragic plane crash that took away co-founder Ronnie Van Zant, guitarist Steve Gaines, and backing vocalist Cassie Gaines. They pass away in this accident, and the album was released 3 days prior. And this is where the album had songs like Georgia Peaches, That Smell, and Sweet Little Missy. And a lot of the Skynyrd fans believe that was the day for them that the music died, because even though there was kind of a reboot of Lynyrd Skynyrd where they were, new members were brought in, it's just not the same. Next on the list after this, we have Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor. And interesting about this one, give them credit, because this is a one that had Fool in the Rain, Hot Dog, All My Love, I'm Gonna Crawl, and you could tell that when John Bonham had passed away, they didn't decide to go get a lesser drummer to try to do other music. Coda was just post-production material that they had left over that they released in 1982. So I give Led Zeppelin a lot of credit for this, because even though it's probably not one of their strongest albums, it's decent. And if you're going to have all their albums from 1, 2, 3, 4 with House of the Holy, Physical Graffiti, well, what the hell? Might as well get this one too and just put it on the shelf.
Package deal.
Package deal, and just listen to it whenever you feel like it. So I can't take this away from them.
No, it was, when did Bonham die?
1980.
I thought so. So this came out before you.
September 25th, 1980. Passed away at the age of 32.
There you go.
Yeah.
John Lennon, Double Fantasy, 1980. Yeah, I bought this about a month after it came out, and I'd planned to buy it when it came out. But when he was killed, it sold out of the stores, I remember. Okay, that said, when you listen to Double Fantasy today, I wonder and I question, is it as memorable? I personally don't think the album stands out. There's a few good, it can't be, it's John Lennon, so there are a few good songs on it, but I just don't think it's strong compared to his first album with the Plastic, was it the Plastic Ono Band?
Yep.
The first album, yeah, it was really good. So I just don't think it's there. Lennon had kind of declining quality, and that's just the way it goes. That's my comment there, which leads me into something called Clark Comments.
Welcome to Clark Comments. Shut up and buckle up as the good doctor kicks out the jams and offers a selection of questionable, disturbed opinions that are somehow related to popular music.
People who listen to this podcast on a regular basis know we have a bit of an issue, perhaps I especially, with lists.
But before we get to that, Ian,
yeah,
people wrote in and said that they found Ian too harsh on certain topics.
Yeah, they did, and for that, I could say,
too bad, so sad.
Your dad. Yeah. That's just the way it goes.
Now we know Ian hates lists, so I'm curious to see which list we have today.
Well, today we have 10 most overrated musicians and bands of all time. The reason by a fellow named T.M. Schultz. The only reason I include this list is because I tend to agree with it. Now, not so vehemently as Mr. Schultz, but
You agree?
Yeah, there's a
Wow.
lot here that.
Check his temperature. Is he feeling okay?
So no, it's the Valium that we put in his coffee earlier that's starting to kick in.
This is a first.
Wait a second. Number 1, U2.
What about him?
Well, U2 has declared themselves to be a self-important band for the entire world. Their peak from Under a Blood Red Sky to the Joshua Tree is undeniable. Octung Babies Europa, a number of albums were forgettable, tired. It made it obvious they should have broken up after Rattle and Hum. That's why. Number 2, Guns Roses. Appetite for Destruction is part of rock canon. Use Your Illusion 1 and 2 should have been a single album. Is there anything else they should have done? Oh, maybe they made a fake live album with audience applause dubbed in. They performed a Charles Manson song because I guess Axl is just desperate to offend people. Chinese Democracy would have been a decent album if it happened 13 years prior from when it came out. Nice.
Have all of them on vinyl.
God bless you. God bless you for that. Metallica. It pains me to add Metallica to this list. From 84 to 88, they were the best thrash metal band on planet Earth. In 91 began the commercial phase, and most of their albums were completely mailed in. St. Anger's Percussion, Hurts My Eardrums. Who thought Lulu was a good idea? Number 4, Steely Dan. Self-importance is a big issue on this list, and Steely Dan can only be topped in that regard by U2 and Guns N' Roses. They were a serious jazz fusion band, but most of their tracks were simply too busy and lacking structure for most fans to enjoy. Number 5, Red Hot Chili Dogs. Another band mastering and mail it in. Under the Bridge was cool when it came out. Have they curated essentially the same song over and over again for the last 25 years? They seem cool and unique during the age of Mother's Milk. RCHP know their audience and creates nothing but the same thing over and over again. Their only interesting record after Blood, Sugar, Sex, and Magic was One Hot Minute. Who do we have next? Van Halen. My childhood was filled with tales of how Van Halen was the best rock band in the world. In retrospect, they just never was the same case. Eddie was a guitar virtuoso, yeah, but his virtuosity often got in the way of the music. It did. Blink-182. There is little more you need to know about the dearth of quality rock music in the 2000s than to immerse yourself in the shocking popularity of Blink-182. Like fellow overrated band Green Day, they weren't quite a punk band and were just a little bit of a rock band. AC/DC deserves their place in the rock pantheon for the work they put in from 76 to 80. Unfortunately, they haven't had any new musical ideas since 1980. All of their songs are either sexist double entendres or some endless variation of how much they like rock. That's good. Bruce Springsteen. The Boss is overrated for all the same reasons as U2. His nonsensical lyrics are supposed to be deep. They're not. And a whole lot of albums that offer nothing and a rabid cult following who swear he's the best of all time. Bob Dylan. If you're a musician winning a Nobel Prize for Literature, there is no one who could be more overrated than you. Nicely put. Dylan made some folk songs famous, and he went 40 years without much of a good song. I am convinced the continuing controversy over his Electric Dylan appearance at the Newport Festival in 65 had more to do with his inability to make a memorable song since 1965.
So
I was going to say that the Christmas album, though, is the epitome of how bad he got.
Yeah, he's just being mean. Dylan does a lot of things because he's Dylan. He can. You can't. Like, he's just that kind of FU thing. So that's according to Ms. T.M. Schultz. I agree with all his selections, though I would have gone a bit harder on some and a bit lighter on others. What about you? Which bands do you think are overrated? Email us at seriousrocktalk@gmail.com, and we will read your response on the air, so to speak. This has been Clark Comments.
now, why does he have an issue with Van Halen, issue with Chili Peppers, AC/DC, U2? These are all Kennedy bands. Does this guy know me? You got a problem with Guns N' Roses?
I think he might have called you up or you listened to a podcast.
You know, I think the Metallica really upset Wheels. Steely Dan, I like some of their songs, but that's harsh. Oh, well.
Pretty hard.
You know, I'm going to talk to Mr. Schultz and say, listen, bro, not for anything, but if it was for no David Lee Roth, there would be no Eddie Van Halen.
Actually, he talks about. I cut the David Lee Roth part out. So I did want you to have a mini
aneurysm.
An aneurysm.
Wheeler?
So we're going to talk about a band whose name sounds like a euphemism, Tin Lizzy.
Probably is.
Phil, what's his name? Phil Feinot?
Yeah.
Feinot.
Linut.
Linus, I'm sorry.
Long gone.
So Thunder and Lightning, 1983. It's their Rebound album, the 12th LP that came out under the band's name. And it's really good, actually. It's musical fireworks after a couple of albums that came out. But the apparent rebirth was really short-lived. The guys had basically seen Thunder and Lightning as their grand finale, and they broke up later that year. And basically, it became somewhat of a musical artifact. And to this day, we still listen to it. But it's a nice little bookend, really. They had they had a good start, middle, and this is a really nice bookend to their.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
So next we have on the list The Police, Synchronicity, or Synchronicity, as people want to pronounce it. Talk about, releasing 4 albums and this is your 5th one and you hate each other. Well, there's no secret there that obviously Stuart Copeland and Sting disliked each other. Andy Summers kind of, showed less of this anger towards his bandmates, but I think the big feud was between, Sting and Copeland. And you know what a good way to end it off. You did 5 albums together. Your first 4 were kind of like melded, they call it reggae rock as they want to use it. But you released this last album, which had songs like Every Breath You Take, Wrapped Around Your Finger, Synchronicity 2, and King of Pain. This is actually probably, in my opinion, one of their better albums. So if you're going to leave, then leave on a high note and call it a day. Now, are they been all successful in solo careers? Well, probably not. Just Sting is probably the only one that kind of got success.
Yeah.
And he was the guy. So, but hey, Stuart Copeland, fantastic drummer. So, and he also did his Clark Kent solo project in between. So
there you go. Yeah, hate for the drummers out.
So the next one is The Clash, Cut the Crap from 1985. So it's basically Joe Strummer and Mike Jones, Paul Simoneau.
Yeah.
And Topper Hedden, who are basically doing their swan song, and you have hits like Should I Stay or Should I Go, Rock the Casbah.
Yeah, you're saying those are on that album?
No, sorry, but this is what the band was known for. Sorry.
Oh yeah, they had, that great double album, right?
But no, by this point, it's they're all nice songs, but there's nothing memorable, and I think they kind of feel that the streak is.
What's his name? Left I forget his.
Strummer.
No, Strummer's still there. The other guy. Sorry, folks, but anyway, the songwriting duo kind of broken up by then. Yeah, they were on their last legs, but they put out a classic album, so.
Exactly, yeah.
The next one we have George Harrison's Cloud 9, which was released in 1987. So although he finished his recording contract with Warner Brothers with a whimper, not a bang, because apparently the 1982 Gone Troppo was a better one. But this one here, he had some hits like I Got My Mind Set on You, what is this? This Is Love. And he had help from Jeff Lynne for the production, alongside with a nice backing crew of Ringo Starr, Elton John, Eric Clapton, and Gary Wright. That's Dreamweaver. Yeah, so why not? He finished it off. I think he did with a bang just because of the guys who helped him with.
Yeah. But Ringo was on every ex-Beatle album. That's what somebody once said.
Well, you got to find someone you could trust, right?
Well, he gets him out of the house, too.
Perfect example when Freddie Mercury did his solo career. Roger Taylor flew to Munich to do all the drum stuff for him. So
I thought you were going to say Ringo Starr went to
yeah, well, no, I think Freddie was a little bit more closer with Roger, and he figured I was like someone you could
I think
trust.
Ringo used to do weddings. He went anywhere. I mean,
him and Pete Best could do a duo.
Sure. Best of the Beatles. Talking Heads, Naked, 1988. I didn't even know this existed, and I like the Talking Heads, so there you go. Recorded it in Paris, and, they had former Smiths guitarist Johnny Marr. They had a horn section. Typical David Byrne. There's always lots of experimentation, but I don't know the album well enough to give it a yay or nay, and I had no idea it existed. I know they recorded something new in 1988 under the Talking Heads name. So there you go. It exists. I cannot neither suggest it or revoke it. You know what I mean? Next, Jefferson Airplane. 1989. This is a really bizarre one. Jefferson Airplane, you know, is the old 60s San Francisco Haight-Ashbury band, and they went through so many changes, eventually becoming Jefferson Starship, then just Starship. This was released in '89, and it had really the classic lineup on it, with the exception of the drummer, I think, Spencer Dryden. So with Grace Slick was singing on it, and it's just it's a bizarre. I've listened to one song called "Summer of Love." It sounds like a typical '80s rock big hair band almost. You can't believe it's Jefferson Airplane, the guys that sang, you know, "Somebody to Love" and "White Rabbit." So.
And it's also a nice little footnote in the Simpsons Lollapalooza episode where Homer tried to explain the evolution of rock music through the 60s, 70s, and 80s thanks to Jefferson
That's good.
Airplane. So our next one is Grateful Dead, Built to Last, 1989. So this is, in theory, their last record. And I'm saying that because there's a new recording of the Grateful Dead coming out pretty much every month.
Pretty much every month. They have, 400,000 years of live recordings.
It's amazing. So I'd say it's the last studio recording, which came out at a really weird time. They had one freak success in '87 with In the Dark. And at this point, Jerry Garcia is getting really tired. He's not even composing most of the hits here. So it's also an attempt by the band to try to record these songs in a live style, but they're doing it in studio. Because this is one of the things about the Dead. Most people agree that their best stuff is their live recordings.
Yeah, that's true.
Mostly because they are like a very organic band. They're not really good in a close, confined space. So this is, to a certain extent, the death of the Dead as an entity that was, I wouldn't go as far as saying relevant, but that were still in the mainstream. After that, they become really a nostalgia act, and until what was it, last year? Or
when did Jerry Garcia die?
Mid the 90s.
In the 90s. And it was funny, my uncle goes to his ex-spouse at the time. He's like, "Babe, Andy Garcia died." I'm like, he was all like upset. I'm like, "Jerry." He goes, "Who?" I'm like, "Grateful Dead guy." "Oh, okay, Twilight." "No, it's not your thing, Al." He's like, "All right." But he was like big Andy Garcia. He loved Andy Garcia. He was like one of his favorite actors. And when he's heard that, the Andy Garcia, no, Jerry. I think Andy Garcia is still alive.
Oh, he's still alive. His career's dead, but
his career's dead.
But the way you just said it, goes, Andy Garcia died. I'm like, Jerry, his non-brother.
Godfather 3. He's okay. My God.
The best non-Italian in The Godfather 3.
I mean, any movie with George Hamilton, is headed toward a wall.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, the best non-Italian that played in Italian would be probably Anthony Quinn.
That's true.
Yeah,
he's good, very versatile.
He's the best Greek and the best Mexican.
But he's actually Mexican. Because my father thought for years he was Greek because of
Zorba.
Yeah.
What fruit you talk that for? Yeah, he did the same thing.
He was good.
Oh, who we have next? Stevie Ray Vaughan, the Vaughan Brothers family song from 1990. Yeah, Stevie Ray and Jimmy Vaughan. Yeah, amazing guitarists, both of them. But you guys probably know Stevie Ray more than Jimmy Vaughan. Jimmy's still around, of course. And they wanted to make an album together, and boy, they just got under the wire. This was released less than 1 month after the helicopter crash that killed Stevie Ray, that Eric Clapton was almost on. So there's, again, almost like the Pearl album, there's a poignancy to it, right? It's tough to listen to it knowing, right? That's the thing about these last albums sometimes, is they can kind of get you that way. Next up we have
Dire Straits On Every Street. It came out in 91.
Good year.
Unfortunately, not the greatest of albums, which is understandable because, let's face it, after Brothers in Arms, where do you really go from there? They had an amazing streak in the mid to late 80s.
Yeah, they did.
And so it just gets to the point where basically you cannot really beat your own record.
Yeah.
It's like Muhammad Ali. You should, at one point, you just start to conceive of another life
retiring,
outside
yeah.
of boxing.
Retire.
And unfortunately, they went maybe one album too far. Although, that being said, it's not a bad album. It's a really good album, and it's much better than most of the stuff that came out in that era. It's just not their best.
Right.
1993, Billy Joel, River of Dreams.
Well, that's your favorite, isn't it?
Well, it's one of... I actually have this album on CD, and even though he did not retire from music completely, this was basically his last album, and it had 3 good songs that I personally like, which is All About Soul, Lullaby, Goodnight My Angel, and River of Dreams, which had a kind of like a soul beat to it. It was kind of nice, the harmony in it. And it was interesting because Billy Joel has... he felt more delusioned about the industry than ever. And there was a quote. He goes, "I think maybe the well has run dry." That's what he told the Los Angeles Times. "Every time I do an album, I think it may be my last." Even though he's continued to write in recent years, he has not recorded anything, and he essentially left the rock writing behind for now. And he clearly says, "I'm never going to say never." That's what he told Rolling Stone magazine. "I may come up with an idea that could become a song. I may write a movie soundtrack. I may write a symphony. I don't know. Anything's possible." Billy, take my advice. Stick to your Madison Square Garden deal that you have of performing and call it a day. Because you have nothing else to prove.
No, and you've gone too long like John Lennon did. You got to keep the muscles toned, right, so to speak. You just can't walk in.
And now it leads us into...
What's that?
The torture for the two of you.
Oh, no.
Welcome to Kennedy's Corner. Following the advice of a behavioral psychologist, Ferris Kennedy has created a forum to express his nightmares, his terror, and his love of rock music. Dr. Clark and medicated Wheeler help with his therapy by answering questions, or just acting like they're interested.
All right, so who wants to go first? Let's not all raise our hands at once.
I just raised my big toe.
You're in?
Yep.
All right. Today is going to be, which album do you prefer?
Okay.
That's easy.
Guns N' Roses' Lies or Appetite for Destruction?
Appetite for Destruction.
Interesting. U2's The Joshua Tree or Achtung Baby?
Achtung Baby is more interesting, but Joshua Tree's easier on the ears, I'd say. So I go with Joshua.
Here's one that I think I know where you might go, but Pink Floyd's The Wall or Pipers at the Gates of Dawn?
Oh, The Wall.
Okay. Metallica, Injustice for All or Ride the Lightning?
Oh, you bastard. You magnificent bastard. I'd say Injustice for All.
All right. Pearl Jam, 10 or Versus?
10.
Okay. Black Sabbath, Masters of Reality or Paranoid?
Oh, man. Paranoid.
Okay. AC/DC, Highway to Hell or Back in Black?
Oh, man. Back in Black.
Deep Purple, Rocks or Machine Head?
Rocks, but just for the cover.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. The cover's cool. Nirvana, Bleach or In Utero?
In Utero.
Here's one that we know where Ian goes and where Kennedy goes, but we don't know where Wheeler goes. Supertramp, Crime of the Century or Breakfast in America?
For it being easier on the ears, Crimes of the Century.
And for the record, Ian is Crime of the Century. He thinks is Supertramp's best album. And I think it's Breakfast in America.
Well, Breakfast in America is a more interesting album.
But my father agrees with Ian that it's Crime of the Century.
God bless him.
All right. Rush, Singles or Permanent Waves?
Oh, Permanent Waves.
Okay. Beastie Boys, License to Ill or Ill Communication?
License to Ill.
Okay. And then the last one for you, kind sir, Motley Crue, Theater of Pain or Dr. Feelgood?
Theater of Pain.
Okay. Mr. Clark.
Yes.
The Beatles' White Album
Yes.
or Yellow Submarine?
White Album, not even a question.
Because I know you don't like either one of them.
No, White Album has moments, but
Okay.
it's kind of indulgent, yeah.
The Doors,
Oh, yeah.
LA Woman, or The Doors?
I'm going to go with the Doors.
The first one?
Yeah.
The Who, the Tommy, or Who's Next?
Who's next?
Okay. Led Zeppelin 2
Right.
or Led Zeppelin 4?
Led Zeppelin 4.
Paul McCartney, Give My Regards to Broad
Oh,
Street,
shut up.
or Pipes of Peace?
Oh, shut up. Those are my choices.
Those are it.
I'll add one. Liverpool Oratorio.
Get out of the room. Get out of the studio. Oh, that's like the choice between cat dung and,
But
sheep.
Pipes of Peace in French is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Wait, it depends if you translate it like literally or if you actually do a correct translation.
I'll go with the Broadway, but it has some Beatle covers on it.
Okay. I got you. I like that one.
Yeah, it's painful.
Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic,
Yeah.
or Pump?
Oh, well, that's kind of cool.
Because they're both good.
Yeah, they're both really good. I would say Toys in the Attic.
Because you have to admit, there was a lot of crap in between.
I know. I was going to say, you
Well, Permanent Vacation was okay, but then Pump really...
yeah, you picked the two.
Rolling Stones, Beggar's Banquet,
Yeah.
or Let It Bleed?
Oh, wow. Let It Bleed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rod Stewart, Every Picture Tells a Story, or Gasoline Alley?
Oh, I go with Every Picture. Yeah, just would.
John Lennon, Imagine, or Rock and Roll?
Well, this is going to scare people, but I'm going to go for Rock and Roll because I love that album so much.
Okay.
That's Phil Spector, by the way.
ZZ Top,
Yeah.
Tres Hombres,
Hey, hombre. Yep.
or Eliminator?
Oh, interesting. I'm going to go Eliminator as I know it more.
Here's one that you're going to have a difficult tense, maybe, maybe not. John Mellencamp, Aha, or American Fool?
I know American Fool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Neil Young's Harvest,
Yeah.
or After the Gold Rush?
Wow, they're both his two best albums. I'm going to say After the Gold Rush.
And then the last one for you, kind sir.
Yes.
Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever, or Hypnotic Eye?
I know Full Moon Fever. Yeah, that's mean. That's just mean.
That made it tough.
Yeah, that's also mean-spirited though. Putting me a team. Tom Petty.
That's what I have for Kenny's Corner. And I just want to say to Wheels, for the ones I asked you, I prefer Lies, I prefer Octoon, and I prefer Verses.
What you prefer the more important? Like they
That's
are
the-
musically more important.
It's like
Is
the
this-
follow-up albums I found better.
Yeah.
And that's it for Kenny's Corner.
Thank you very much. Where are we?
And then it leads me into Nirvana in
Okay.
Utero.
Okay.
1993. So technically speaking, yes, this was the last album. This one here has the songs that Kurt Cobain apparently had a an infatuation with human anatomy. So all the songs are pretty well talking about the human anatomy, talking about pain. I think there's like a subliminal message coming in here, Ian. You know,
Poor guy.
but I do love the album. It has a song about a girl, and it has also All Apologies. So at the end of the day,
Yes.
get the album, listen to it, enjoy it, and try not to think about what the hell he was thinking.
But you wouldn't say it's their best album.
No, I'm still going to go on with everybody else saying that Nevermind is their best album. And I have to say the second best album of Nirvana, I'm going to go with the Unplugged just because of the way it was done.
Oh yeah.
Anything Unplugged, and I wish MTV would start bringing this stuff back because it was so good in the 90s, and I don't know why they teetered off.
MTV got in trouble.
That's why? For Unplugged stuff?
Yeah, but they just don't do that anymore.
It's a shame.
Well, there's no music on MTV really anymore. Yeah. It's mostly reality TV.
That sucks.
It's over. It's over as a force. Yeah.
Okay, well, that's what happened.
Say Libby.
So Emerson, Lake and Palmer in the hot seat in
Oh,
'94.
man. Oh no.
An album so bad, the producer Keith Olsen labeled it the one album in his whole career you wish he hadn't been involved with. No song, no preparation, no work ethic.
Wow.
So that tells you a lot.
Yeah, I know the cover. Even the cover's bad.
And one of the reasons why it's so bad is Keith Emerson at that point had nerve damage in his right hand. So when you're one of the main guys cannot play at his best, you wonder why they even
That's what I
bought
think.
at that
Why
point.
even go in? Why even go in?
So yeah.
Okay.
The less said about
Really?
In the Hot Seat, the better. Next one, Made in Heaven, Queen.
Kind of a posthumous thing, right?
Kind of, yeah, because it came out in 95.
When Freddie died?
Exactly. Well, he died in 91.
91.
So, I mean, this was made in the last months of Freddie's life, but if you've ever seen videos, it actually breaks your heart because he's emancipated. He's completely...
It's bad.
It's bad. He's a walking skeleton at that point. When you think about the force he was just 3 or 5 years prior, it really goes to your heartstrings. And it's not a bad album, but let's face it, Queen had really big highs, really low lows, and this one is maybe a big middle. It's not their worst and it's not their best. You have a feeling the guys were growing through the motions so that Freddie had a few nice months left.
Yeah, right.
To me, frankly, it's a heart-wrenching album just because of...
That can happen with these, as I said, with these last albums.
It's a shame because, look, what he left behind, one hell of a legacy, right? And everyone remembers Queen for Freddie. No one ever talks really of John Deacon.
They always say, how about it was Jim Morrison to the Doors or Keith Moon to the Who? What did they do after?
Nothing.
They tried to do something in a crash.
But the Doors completely failed.
Completely failed.
And the Who, they're hanging on. It's just
they became an oldies act.
It's two guys.
That's
it.
It's an oldies act that sings stuff from the 70s and 60s. So.
It's amazing how Moon was such an influence.
You never think about a drummer that way. Allman Brothers Band, Hitting the Note, 2003. The Allman Brothers were an incredible band. They're a group of incredible musicians. This was their 12th and final studio album. Kind of like the Grateful Dead, you can get a lot of live stuff. We all know that. We spoke about them at the Fillmore during a recent podcast. And this is their last album, studio album, and they'd go on to 2014 doing live stuff, which leads me into Steely Dan, Everything Must Go. I've always had a love-hate relationship with Steely Dan. Like, they are very unique. They're very good musicians. I'm talking about Donald Fagen and Walter Becker, the late Walter Becker. They had great sound, like technically great sound, complicated jazz progressions, some great songs. Everything Must Go, I wouldn't say it's not top shelf Steely Dan. You might want to go to Aja. But
if only to test your sound system.
or test your sound system. Or George Benson's Breezin'. One of those. Those were the albums to go to for in the 70s. You want your crummy sound system to sound good. So it's 2003 now. Of course, that Mr. Becker has gone. You're not going to see. Maybe there's stuff in the vault, but that's pretty well it.
Dio, Master of the Moon, which came out in 2004. It's not exactly its true farewell. 1 year before his 2010 death from stomach cancer, he reunited with his former Black Sabbath bandmates for an LP that was called Heaven and Hell. But his final Dio album, which brought back guitarist Craig Goldie, arrived in 2004. And Master of the Moon is actually really interesting. It's really heavy production. The heaviest he did since Dehumanizer with Black Sabbath. But again, Dio at that point is starting to lose some of his energy, some of his vitality. He's still an amazing guy, but we're no longer in his prime.
Well, this is an interesting one. Twisted Sister, A Twisted Christmas, which was released in 2006. Now, when I think of Christmas music, I do not think of Dee Snider. But this album in particular, literally had acoustic guitars, some trumpet, and Dee Snider's gentle croon. And the songs that he's singing, I'll Be Home for Christmas, Silver Bells. I think of Bing Crosby when I hear that, right? I Saw Mama Kissing Santa Claus. Let It Snow, Deck the Halls, The Christmas Song, Heavy Metal Christmas. We wish you a Twisted Christmas.
This is just mean.
So, you know what? Hey, kudos to D. But he should have probably called his cousin Fred from the B-52s. They are cousins, by the way, first cousins. To have him help him out on this album.
No, he should have called Bob Dylan. Have yourself a very Merry Christmas. I mean, come on. These guys are just being...
So, yeah. Next.
The White Stripes with Hickey Thump. They're basically last hurrah after Get Behind Me, Satan, which was really one of their more popular releases. But it sounds like garage rock. It's not the White Stripes at their best. I mean, it is very experimental. I mean, you can hear bagpipes, trumpets, and synthesizers.
That's usually when you know you're lost.
Well, exactly.
When you bring in stuff to get a bagpipe. No, there's no song here.
So it's before Jack White really goes on a deep end of being a true musical eccentric. So it's the last hurrah.
He loves.
The next one, Motley Crue, Saints of Los Angeles. That was released 2 decades after 1989's Dr. Feelgood, which was the album that they were all sober. And Vince Neil said that was just horrible. Imagine you have to be kind of inebriated to write good music, which I find is wrong, especially with Motley Crue, because they actually did write some good music, whether they were drunk or sober, it didn't matter. But I'm also a Crue fan, so it's a little bit different. This album here actually was the first time that the original band members got together, since 1997 of the Generation Swine, because there was an album before that, which was with John Corabi. So they got together, they wrote this album. Tommy Lee wrote one of the songs, which I believe This Ain't a Love Song, which is one of the songs that was on there. So it was written by Tommy Lee. So yes, Crue brought back their heavy metal, they brought back their hard rock persona. They were supposed to be calling it quits, but as you could see, they're back. They wrote some new songs in 2019 for their soundtrack of the movie The Dirt. So be true to the Crue, baby. Be true to the Crue. I recommend this album. I really do.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah, come on.
But at one point, you have to pay for the alimony after 5-6 divorce.
And wait, Bob Dylan helps him out on this one too, by the way.
Oh,
no, I'm just joking.
I was gonna say, kiss of death. Do you want me to sing anything? Yeah, I do. The Cars, Move Like This from 2011. Folks, this surprised me. I had no idea. See, these guys are laughing. They know how I feel about the Cars.
Yeah.
And Rick Ocasek. Listen, who knew this existed? Anybody outside their families? Come on. Really? Probably their mother hated it. 2011, the Cars. So Ocasek got together most of the all the surviving members of the Cars classic lineup, and who knows, this is their 7th and final album. The Cars are like a novelty band to me. I remember I bought their first album. It was everywhere when it came out in the 70s, and they just didn't follow it up with anything strong, and Kasich kind of wandered off into production land, and that was the end of it. There's a lot of infighting, a little bit like Blondie, which leads me into Lou Reed with Metallica. Lulu from 2011. I have heard this, and it really isn't good. But typical Lou Reed, it was kind of in your face. He knew it wasn't good. This is the guy that put out, metal music. It's just horrible to begin with, and he knows it. And he's being very Lou Reed. Lou was always kind of confrontational. That was his nature. I don't know what Metallica was doing, having fun with it. And you can try it out if you want to. Yeah, they call it avant-garde, I guess. Reed knew the response was going to be negative, as did the members of Metallica.
All right, jumping into Van Halen, A Different Kind of Truth, 14 years after the epic failure of Van Halen 3 with, what's his name, Gary Cherone. I'm not trying to diss poor Gary Cherone.
Oh, my Sharona, you mean?
Yeah, he was very successful with Extreme. Him and Nuno Bettencourt performed a good duo together. So this one here is actually when Michael Anthony left, and it was kind of nice that Wolfgang, the son of Van Halen, went up to Uncle Alex and Dad Eddie and said, "I want to be bass and let's do this album." And he spearheaded to get David Lee Roth. And here's a funny one, Ian, you're like this one.
Yeah.
Valerie Bertinelli explained to the fans who were upset by the departure of founding bassist Michael Anthony. So she went out and spoke to people and explained to them that, hey, you know what? It just happens. But they had a good song on there called Tattoo, which was one of the big hits off that album.
Right.
You also had Chinatown, Blood and Fire, As Is, and Honey, Baby, Sweetie Doll. So these are the things.
God bless Valerie Bertinelli. Was she married to Eddie at the time? I wonder.
I don't know if they were still together at that time.
I don't think so.
But at least she spoke out. Well,
She
she's
spoke,
talking
yeah.
about her son, right? She's defending her son.
Yeah.
So the next one, Rush, Clockwork Angels, their 19th studio LP, which felt really like a goodbye if you listen to it. There's all the ordinary things by Rush, so the big concepts, the storyline and everything, but there is a really nice orchestral finale to The Garden. You feel like it's the end soundtrack of a long story. And although the Rush really called it quits a few years later, after they hit the 40 mark, you feel like Clockwork Angels is really their last hurrah, and you can hear it really.
Yeah.
And it sounds really good. It's not the best Rush that was ever released, but it's not a bad way to leave the world. Great music.
Yeah.
Kiss
Yeah.
Monster 2012. Here's how this one came about, Ian. After
Yes.
a 1998 reunion failed,
Oh, okay.
they decided in 2009, let's get together. Gene Simmons, Eric Singer, Tommy Thayer, and Paul Stanley.
And Gene's accountant.
And Gene's accountant. They decided, let's do an album in 2012 called Monster. And they have this song called Modern Day Delilah or Hell or Hallelujah. Those are as good as they come. This is it. This is what they gave. I don't think it's anything better than their song Beth.
Who doesn't know that?
Soundgarden King Animal 2012, 5 years before the tragic passing of Chris Cornell. They actually wrote a couple of songs on this one here. It was actually a true studio goodbye. They wrote songs Down on the Upside, My Crooked Steps, A Non-State Actor. These are just things to kind of call it a career. And to be honest, Kim Thile spoke out, and he clearly said that whenever Chris did pass away, Soundgarden was done. It's it. It's over. There was nothing else to do. He's gone. Why bother? You know? And it was sad. So, that's what we have.
So next one is Black Sabbath 13.
Tell me you have this one, Wheeler.
Actually, I have it, but not as a physical record.
Oh,
I have
yeah.
the sound files. And it's really interesting. Actually, it's a nice return to the core trio of Ozzy Osbourne, Tony Iommi, and Geezer Butler. It's basically like a great doom metal epic, but it's surprisingly not nostalgic. It actually feels like these guys are still at it, but you feel that they know it's the last hurrah. And there's actually another album that comes out in 2016, but at that point it's a live LP. It's like the live show. So this is really the last album to me.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Hypnotic Eye. Now here's a funny one. He was so close with chart toppers of Full Moon Fever, Wildflowers, Heart Promises, Highway Companion, Damn the Torpedoes, even his greatest hits album. But Hypnotic Eye was the one that actually gave him a top charting album, #1.
My God.
Go figure that one out.
No one can.
So, you know what? And he passed away, in 2017, 2018?
That long ago.
Yeah. So, you know what? 4 years before your passing, you finally hit #1.
Yeah, good for him.
Career accomplished.
it's not-
Yeah.
Career accomplished.
Next one is Pink Floyd's The Endless River that came out in 2014. Frankly, after 2008, it's Richard's Wright's death. There wasn't really any point to having Pink Floyd really as a studio entity anymore. Plus, I mean, everybody knows the huge infighting between Roger Waters and David Gilmour. So, Endless River, what is it? It's leftovers from the Division Bells.
I was going to say,
it's the microwave album.
Yeah,
if
that's
you can call it that.
nicely put. That's nicely put. Yeah, but this can't be new stuff. There's
No,
way.
exactly. The next one is Bad Magic by Motorhead that came out in 2015.
Right.
The final time the classic lineup was together, so Lemmy, singer-bassist, the guitarist Mickey D, and Phil Campbell. It's basically the last hurrah, and let's face it, Motorhead without Lemmy, there's no point.
There's no point.
So it's nice to have. It's not necessarily a must-have on your list.
And the last album?
Well, David Bowie's Black Star from 2016. You know, this is just so Bowie. He died 2 days after it was released in January 8th. He was 69. I've heard it, and it is not just because of his death, it is the depressing album. There's some good stuff there. It's not Ziggy Stardust. You know, it's not hunky dory, but there's some good stuff. But it is a dark album. I guess I don't know if he knew he was dying or not. I'm not even sure if it's a thoughtful album. It's almost depressing, angry. And I suggest you don't look at the videos made with it before you listen to it, because they're really, really dark.
Yeah, they're eerie.
Yeah, just Bowie's being Bowie,
It's as if he knew.
Yeah, so you can listen to it. I don't recommend it either way, right?
True.
So that's it.
That's it.
For this episode. Well, wait a second. There's one thing. There's one thing remaining.
The music at
It
night.
has to do with kind of a.
It sounds
a
bright
final thing.
on Wheeler's turntable. He shines a light. He keeps his vinyl in sight and gives you his magnificent review. Now here's a clue we have for you. It's time for Wheeler's Vinyl Review.
So today we're going to talk about the Joni Mitchell Archives, the second volume that just came out.
Okay.
So for those of you who have to go pee, because it's a rather long podcast that we've done, I'll give you my recommendation. It's 8 to 8.
Cole's Notes version?
Cole's Note version. So it's I'm giving it an 8 on 10 in terms of a grade.
Wow. Good.
And I have to do a warning here. It is for fans only. So this is basically exploring the years between her debut and Blue. So it's a huge swath of stuff. The live takes, the studio takes of some of the great songs that she did, and you can see it evolve slowly but surely into what they would become, which is like legendary recordings. But they did not start like that. You can hear River, Urge for Going, the fiddle and the drum, Ladies of the Canyon. They really go from a really nice idea to an amazing release in the end.
They worked on them, yeah.
They worked on them. So, but if you're a completist, this one has the live capture by Jimi Hendrix at Le Hibou, which is a mythic coffee house in Ottawa.
Yeah.
That was just found, I think, was last year.
Yeah, that's funny.
So
she's on there, is she?
Oh yeah, she is.
Cool.
So it's Hendrix recording her with his little reel-to-reel portable machine. So I mean, if you're a completist, this is a really nice one for you, and it's also a nice way of listening to Mitchell, because let's face it, she's nearing 80. I highly recommend for the completists, and it's really well recorded, and the records usually. Of course, you have to do like Kennedy. You have to clean them well, and you have to take care of them. But they usually sound really good when you put them on the turntable.
Great. Thank you very much.
And that's a wrap.
That's a wrap, baby.
That's a wrap.
All right, I'm signing off. Kennedy, au revoir.
Dr. Clark, au revoir.
Stephen Wheeler, adios.